Berkeley following a somewhat bizarre story. Ann Coulter and the University of California at Berkeley and this free speech issue. Good morning, Alex Stone.
Hey, McGraw, good morning. Yeah, her speech here at Berkeley today has been on again, off again, on again, off again. As of right now, it is off again, and she is telling ABC that she is not going to be here. The school canceled it, saying it was because of security concerns, that they couldn't ensure her security or student security because of threats that they received. She and her supporters say that that's a bunch of bull, that it was really because they didn't want her conservative voice on campus. The school says that's not true, that they've had a lot of conservative speakers. Milo Yiannopoulos a couple of months ago, that one turned into violent protests. They say they fear that that was going to happen again, so they canceled it. But even today, without her here, they're expecting protests, and they're afraid they're going to become violent.
You could shut down any speech on any campus because of threats of violence, right? There are all sorts of threats of violence. What about the protests and the students? Where are they on this? Were they planning on any type of protests over Ann Coulter?
Yeah, and in fact, those protests are still going to go on. Her supporters and opponents say that they are going to be here in Sproul Plaza, the birthplace of the free speech movement, and they say they're going to meet today. And that has police saying that they're getting ready for the way they put it, a quote, riot-like situation later on today. Berkeley has been dealing with this now really since the president's inauguration, and no surprise that Berkeley is a place where this is happening. But the last couple of weekends, they've had violent protests. A couple of weekends ago, it got really out of hand, punches being thrown and a lot of people injured. And then back to when Milo Yiannopoulos was here several months ago, that one had police in riot gear, a lot of windows broken, a lot of destruction done, people who were injured. So the concern is that the two sides will clash again today. That has sent a letter now, the chancellor sending it out to students and staff, telling them stay away if you don't want to be part of this today because they fear that it could become violent. Everybody hopes that it doesn't, that the protest just happened and then nothing goes on between the two sides. But there are supporters who are saying that they are going to read her speech on a loudspeaker of some kind, so her words will be heard here in the Bay Area. We'll have to see what the other side, her opponents, do while that speech is being read. Nobody knows at this point.
Alex Stone, there was talk about a May 5th date that they were going to reschedule, hide the venue, and do it during the middle of the day. Is that on or off?
No, that's off. Coulter has said no way, that they gave her that date, the school gave her that date, saying that they could ensure her safety at that point. They won't say what the security threats are, but they say they are credible threats to her life and could injure students and staff as well. Again, Coulter and supporters don't really believe that. But so they gave her a date next week, in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day. But she says absolutely not because that's, quote, a dead week. That's when students are studying for finals and nobody's around. She wants this to be at a time when there are a lot of students around who will come and listen, and the school said they just could not do that today.
Is anybody in Berkeley noting the irony of the quote-unquote birthplace of free speech, and they're holding riots and protests against a woman who is going to be giving a speech?
Well, there are a lot of people, and in fact, Coulter saying that it's the first time she feels like she's been in line with Bill Maher and Willie Brown and a bunch of other liberal names who were saying, let her speak. That if she wants to speak, let her do it, freedom of speech, and, see what happens. Try to protect her the best you can, but if she wants to do it, go ahead. The school is saying no because it's about student and staff safety and about protecting property, and they just can't move forward with it today. And at this point, she's saying that she won't even physically show up here on campus because she doesn't have a place to speak and police won't protect her. Whereas even until yesterday, she had been saying even if they didn't give her a place, she was going to show up, and if she had to use a megaphone, she would do that. Now she's saying no, that she's not going to be here. But her words will apparently be heard today. Her supporters will be here. So the belief is that her message will get out.
Alex Stone, ABC News correspondent, live in Berkeley with us. Alex, be safe. Thanks for checking in.
You got it. Thanks, McGraw. Have a good day.
You got it. 625, Big 550, KTRS. There you go.
In the end, though, the school has a responsibility to keep students safe.
Yes. Yes, they do.
Regardless of... And
they also have a responsibility to protect people's freedom of speech.
I agree. And I wonder how many outside groups are involved in and possibly showing up would have showing up today and past riots that they've had.
Right.
You know, think of the Ferguson situation where so many people were not even from Ferguson.
Right.
Or even from this state.
Well,
you know?
which makes it even more imperative to make sure somebody's free speech rights are protected, because somebody's got an agenda and flies in from Florida or wherever and thinks they can quell free speech.
Yeah.
626.